We got the double champ back here on the program, Jesse Ronson, who is returning to the UFC next Saturday. He's going to be taking on Carlos Diego Ferreira. Jesse, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Just leaving my massage therapist's house, so I'm in his driveway in my car doing this interview.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. Look at the lengths you go to do an interview like this. I really appreciate it. And congratulations right off the bat, man, getting to fight in Toronto in your hometown for the UFC once again. Before we talk about you signing with the UFC, I wanted to ask you first, I know you got new management. You're with Ruby Sports and Entertainment with Daniel Rubenstein. How did that come together? Just because I know Danny's based in the U.S. and you obviously lived in Ontario.
My old manager, Robert Rivetta, him and Danny used to work together. So after I won the second title at welterweight, he sent me a message saying, "Hey, are you still looking to get to the UFC?" I said, "Yeah, why? Can you help?" And he goes, "No, but I got a guy." And he gave me Danny's number. I called him, and the rest is history.
Okay, interesting. And how much of a factor do you think that played in you actually getting signed to the UFC?
Probably a big one because he's got a lot of UFC fighters in his roster right now, or like that he works for or works with, and he's constantly in Sean Shelby's ear, as he's always at all the events. So it's a no-brainer when you always see Sean Shelby. Hey, I got a guy who's ready. Hey, I got a guy who's ready, right? So it just came together a lot easier.
Yeah, was this something you were expecting after your last fight, winning that second belt in TKO? Did you feel like this was going to happen?
I was hoping to get signed just like a flat-out contract, and this way I could have a full training camp. But it is what it is. I wasn't expecting to get the call on Tuesday to fight next week. But, you can't turn the UFC down, so you got to do what you got to do, jump through all the hoops. It's been a hectic last 4 or 5 days getting everything done. Very little sleep and then modifying the diet and everything. But, yeah, like the UFC, again, it's like the first time there is like a dream come true. So, obviously, anytime you can get there, even though it's my second time, I'm glad I'm back. Like, I'm at a loss for words. I'm just stunned. I can't put it together good enough. I'm just stunned that I'm back.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, did you ever feel like this might not happen, that you wouldn't get a shot again? Because I think if you look at your tenure in the UFC, you had it rougher than a lot of people in terms of the opponents you had and just the way your fights went down. I mean, they were all close fights. And I know sometimes people don't get that opportunity to come back to the UFC.
No, you're absolutely right. One of the things my manager, he knows Sean Shelby well, and he said Sean doesn't like bringing guys back for a second time. It's like, you had your chance. You know what? You blew it. Too bad. Sorry. On to the next, because there's always newer, younger MMA fighters out there. So he's really reluctant to bring guys back. So I'm very fortunate that he is bringing me back. I didn't think it was going to happen, but like I said, here we are.
How much do you think it helped that you were the champion in TKO? I mean, literally, we're talking almost a year ago. I remember you and I, in Montreal when you won the lightweight title, and then of course you went up and won the welterweight title as well. Being in those 5-round fights in those high pressure situations, a lot of guys, when they go back to the regional scene, they're not getting that type of pressure, and you sort of had that throughout your career after the UFC.
It's definitely helped experience-wise. I feel like I'm a more complete, better, and dangerous fighter. If I was the man I am now that got signed to the UFC back in 2013, I'm sure I wouldn't have the shitty luck that I had when I was there, even with the opponents that I fought. So, having these high-profile fights in these big organizations and everything, I think really helped with my experience. And as for getting noticed, I don't think it really helped getting noticed. As I've asked Sean Shelby if he's watching fights. The only times he gets to see him if they're on UFC Fight Pass and he by chance catches it, which most times he's not really watching. So, it's very, very difficult to get his attention. You got to do something real spectacular in order to get their attention. I didn't think it was that hard, right? So it's like, unless he's directly looking for you or a manager's directly in his ear, he probably doesn't know about most of the people out there, despite how good they are.
Yeah, and actually, this is something you and I have talked about in an interview before. Fighters who go on social media and they tag Sean Shelby or they tag Dana White, that's not the right way to go about it, because they probably won't see it. They get messages like that daily, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, even if they do see it, they're probably like, who that? It's not like they're going to go open up a new browser and Google your name. They don't know who you are, right? So, like Shane Campbell, for example, was one of those guys who was very fortunate. He did that Hadouken, which got all over Sportsnet. It made all over these huge sports highlights and everything. So that really helped him out, because then all of a sudden they're watching TV and they're like, oh, wow, this guy, he's on a 5-fight win streak too, and he's doing this cool stuff. Yeah, let's sign him. You know what I mean? So that's the type of stuff that you need. Other than that, yeah, they're definitely not going to see it, nor do they care, because they've got every Dick, Tom, and Harry all over the world who's an MMA fighter probably doing this stuff, right?
Let's talk about the matchup. Carlos Diego Ferreira, who's had a pretty good career in the UFC, 13-2 record overall. How do you feel like you match up against him here?
You know what? It's another Brazilian. It's another big Brazilian in Toronto, just like
Yeah.
September 2013 is fighting a black belt in BJJ. Now Carlos Diego Ferreira is a third-degree black belt in BJJ. He's a little smaller. He's not as huge as Prazeres, and his style, striking-wise, like he's not afraid to fight. He actually likes to fight, and he's not about just using his jiu-jitsu and holding people down. He puts his chin down and bites down on the mouthpiece and likes to swing and give the fans what they want, and that's kind of a perfect style for me. So it's a great matchup for me to come off on 11 days' notice, right? So I feel good about the fight, not having a camp, because this guy's striking style plays perfectly for me. Obviously, I'm going to want to avoid being on the ground with him as he's a third-degree black belt, but, you know, that's just a title that somebody has. You know, I'm TKO lightweight and welterweight champ. That, you know, just because he's a black belt doesn't mean he's going to absolutely wreck me on the ground if it goes there. So.
And you mentioned the short notice, not having a full camp, but I know you're in the gym, constantly just working on those skills and everything over the last couple months. Has it mainly just been at adrenaline? Where have you been sort of honing your skills?
I train mostly at adrenaline, and then I still go to Parabellum every once in a while in Oakville to do my sparring, and then I train with Adam Higson in Hamilton at Diablo Muay Thai. Like, this guy's light years ahead of the game when it comes to striking. Like, the stuff that he knows and the stuff that he can teach. I didn't think my striking game could get much better because I was an arrogant asshole, but then I found Adam Higson, and I was like, wow, it really stepped my game up. Like, you could see the difference. My very first fight working with him was my Jimmy Spikuza fight in TKO. And you could see the difference from my last fight to that fight and just how much better my striking got. It was ridiculous. So, and it's only getting consistently better and more dangerous. So, yeah, adrenaline, Diablo Muay Thai, and Parabellum is where I'm at.
Okay, that makes sense. And as far as the weight cut, you still working with the Maverick, Adam Asenza, for that? Because I know he just fought, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he just fought Jason Sago. I am working with him. As soon as I got the call, I called him right away, and we're already working on some extreme stuff to get that weight down, because you don't want to disappoint the UFC or the Ontario Commission or anybody like that. So we got a lot of work to do still, and but yeah, I'm glad I'm working with him, and he's super intelligent and super mindful. So everything's going well.
And it won't be a situation like, I remember, I think it was one of your TKO fights, you had that bathtub that just wasn't getting any water or something like that. I remember you had like a mishap with that. At least this time, can't be any worse than that, right?
No, that time I had a pinched nerve and a pinched nerve in my shoulder and a herniated C6, C7, and the bathtub was for midgets. Like, it was for guys built like Josh Hill or TJ Laramie that are 5'5", 5'6", you know what I mean? And so the water only came up to like half my rib cage, but having my head being bent like that just aggravated the C6, C7 herniation and the pinched nerve, and I just couldn't do it. But yeah, no, these situations will be better. Toronto, I'm healthy. I don't have any injuries. The bathtub will probably be bigger because Toronto doesn't cheap out, or UFC doesn't cheap out on the hotels. So
no, that's going to be good. Who's going to be in your corner for this fight?
Andrew Elliott, my wrestling coach. He's going to be in my corner for every fight I can get him in. Like, if it wasn't for him, like, Chad Laprise and myself would never have made it to the UFC. Like, our wrestling skills go underrated just because we don't use it. We prefer to strike. So Andrew Elliott's always going to be there. Number one guy, wrestling MMA coach. Adam Higson, my striking coach, is going to be there. And then Jesse Goff, who's been refining mine and Chad's jiu-jitsu games over the last year. Well, Chad's more than mine. He's going to be in there. He's a student of the game, and he's very passionate, and he's a good, positive role guy to have around. So Jesse Goff, Andrew Elliott, Adam Higson.
We're going to see another finish in this fight. That's been the theme in the last couple ones. How do you see this fight unfolding?
If Carlos Ferreira comes out fighting me the way I've seen him fight, like when he fought Jared Gordon and Olivier, or like the two losses that he had to Poirier and Bennett, if he fights me like that, then yeah, I will finish him 100%. The only way he can fight me differently is if again, he tries to cage stall me and maul me on the ground. But again, I've trained my skills too much. There's nothing about him that just denotes that he'll be able to control me on the cage or anything like that. So I can see myself finishing this fight by TKO.
Okay, I like that. And last question before I let you go here. I know you have this fight to think about. That's the focus right now. But what are the holiday plans? Because I know last year when we talked after your TKO fight, when you won the title, you had like a trip plan like down south. Was that the plan before all this, or do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, I booked a trip to Mexico the day before I got signed to the UFC. So I'm glad I'm fighting before I leave. So I go to Mexico December 11th to the 18th. So it worked out well because my manager's like, yo, be ready for December 8th, December 15th, December 29th. I'm like, what the? Why all these dates? I'm like, what are the chances of the? He's like, your best bet is Toronto, but he's like, you could get signed for the 15th or whatever. So when I booked this trip, I bought the cancellation insurance just in case I had to cancel it if I got the call for the 15th or the 29th.
Okay.
So I spent an extra $100 on something I didn't need because I can still go.
Well, there you go. Well, we're looking forward to this fight, man. Again, congratulations, Jesse, on getting back in the UFC. I'm going to be there live watching this one cage side. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you got any sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ronsoff, RONSOFF. I'm on there more now so than usual, and especially since the UFC's signed me back, I'll be on Twitter more often. Jesse Ronson on Facebook. I'm not really accepting friend requests because ever since this Tuesday, I've probably gotten about 700, so I just don't answer that anymore. But you can follow the Body Snatcher page, Jesse the Body Snatcher Ronson on Facebook, or you can find me, Jesse Ronson, on Instagram. I'll let anybody follow me there. That's no big deal. That's just photos, and you can't really harass me that much on Instagram. So as for sponsors, I'd like to give a shout out to my massage therapist here, Nigel Regan, who's always had my back. Our clinic here in London, the New Freer Clinic here in London, the Adrenaline Training Center, Diablo Muay Thai, Parabellum. My buddy Ryan Cheddar, if he's watching this, and his moving company SS&D. The King Faisal Rahman has been a huge help always. If it wasn't for that guy, I don't think I would have got everything ready for UFC. Cam Shea of the London Police for helping me out and getting my criminal background check just like that. Normally it takes 6 weeks, but he got that done in a day. And Adam Asenza and his Maverick Perform company for his dietitian skills. Thanks a lot.